Hi, welcome. This is, welcome to my YouTube therapy session. I wanted to do this video real quick before my kids wake up, so they're not interrupting me. It's about social avoidant personality disorder, which is something that I figured out I have. So just to give you history about me, I have been going to therapy for the last, very small history about me, for the past like 6 months or so. And I started going to therapy because I realized, I've known for a long time that I have a lot of social anxiety, and it goes all the way back to kindergarten. There was an actual report on my kindergarten report card saying like I have trouble making friends, and really great student, but really shy and really quiet and just doesn't know how to connect with people. Something to that effect. So my entire life I've had this problem, and I finally last year decided to just go to therapy for it. And so I hooked up with a therapist and started going, and we talked a lot about social anxiety. And I started seeing a therapist because I kept watching all these YouTube videos trying to figure out how to get past my problem. And they said, try all these things, and if none of these things work, you're gonna need to get therapy. And so none of those things worked. I got therapy. I was working at the therapist for about 6 months, and it was kind of an introductory type of thing. My therapist was in an internship because she's not like a full-fledged therapist yet. Anyway, her internship ended, and so did our sessions. And she told me like someone was going to hit me up within the next 3 weeks. It still hasn't happened, so I'm waiting to hear back from the doctor about getting a new therapist right now. But in the meantime, I started looking up videos again, trying to figure some stuff out, and I stumbled across a video about avoidant personality disorder, and it blew my mind because I was like, holy shit, this is me. I always felt like I was socially anxious, but it was like there was more to it than that. And so I saw that there's a therapist lady, and I'll have to look her up and figure out what her name is because I can't remember off the top of my head, but she has a YouTube channel where she describes all these different personality disorders. And she did avoidant personality disorder, and then I started going through the comments, and it was just mind-blowing because I was like, holy shit, I'm not the only one, that's this total weirdo. So, and then I started looking up other videos that people had done about having this problem, and it was really really crazy knowing that I'm not the only weirdo out here. So it was a really happy moment for me. Not that I feel, not that I'm happy that these other people are having this problem, but more than I'm happy that I'm not the only one having this problem. Like, there's other people I can talk to, which was crazy because I commented on one of the pages, and this guy immediately underneath it was like, "You're a liar," and I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like, I finally found someone to connect with, and this motherfucker. Anyway, so I'm gonna go over what it is and kind of my experience with the different traits, and I'm just kind of doing this because after realizing that I'm not the only one that has this problem, I thought maybe it would be helpful if I talked about it, and someone else saw me talking about the kind of struggle that goes along with it, and maybe it'll make them happy and feel less alone. So there are 7 traits that make you a person with this disorder. So number 1 is you're overly sensitive and easily hurt by criticism and disapproval, which I think is probably common among a lot of people. A lot of people are just overly sensitive, but at least with me, it's more to the point where I'm so worried about the criticism and disapproval that I will, like, if someone criticizes me, I just kind of automatically don't like them. And it's not necessarily like there's anything wrong with them. I'm just like, oh, because they criticized me, they obviously don't like me, don't want to be a friend with me, don't want to be my friend. And it's limited my friendships by a lot, you know, because people criticize you, and it's not always, you know, a lot of times it just needs to be taken with a grain of salt, and you don't have to, you know, shut them off completely because they didn't like some random thing that you did. You know, you can move past it. And I, for my entire life, have not very much been like, oh, you don't like this one thing I do? Screw you, you're not my friend. You know, and it's not great. Especially when it comes to people that like are just gonna have to be in my life for a while, you know, like family or whatever, extended family, or like my boyfriend's family. You know, they'll be critical of me, and I'm like, well, you obviously don't like me because you were critical of this one thing. And at that point, I'm just like weird and awkward around them forever. So it's awful. Second thing is we have few, if any, close friends, and are reluctant to become friends with others unless you're certain of being liked. I have 0 close friends. Like, I have some friends that I would consider, you know, like I could call them if I needed to. I don't think, I mean, there's no, I always hear people talking about like, yeah, I called my friend and we talked on the phone for hours and we had a great time, or I called up my girls and we went out and had coffee and went clubbing, or whatever the hell girls do. And I don't have anyone like that. Like, there's not a single person in my life. You know, like, there are several girls who I would consider friends, and if I had to come up with a list of girls to go hang out with, I could come up with that list, but I'm not even sure they would show up, because they'd be like, why are you calling me? We're not even that close. You know? Yeah, it's just no one. It's very lonely. You know, I have a couple of friends, but honestly, like the girls I would consider myself closest to are also really socially anxious. Like, they just are really also uncomfortable around a lot of people. So that's just not helpful. I have one friend that I know I can call her and I can talk to her for a long time, but like, if I invited her to go somewhere with me, she probably wouldn't even show up. So it kind of sucks. It's just, if I could describe this personality disorder in one word, it would be loneliness. It's just crushing loneliness. It's like you just have to do everything yourself because there's no one there, because you've never connected with anyone. It's just you. And which definitely creates a lot of some discipline and like self-reliance, which is cool, but it's not the whole picture. You need other people in your life for many things, but also for criticism. You need someone to tell you like, yeah, what you're doing ain't right, you know. And you know, or to give you advice, or, you know, so you don't have to just figure it out on your own. I mean, like, I really feel like I've been kind of a moron for most of my life, and a lot of that has come from just the fact that I just don't want to be around people who criticize me, because I feel like if they criticize me, they just don't like me. And that's not always the truth. Sometimes it is. It's not always the truth, though. Number 3, they experience extreme anxiety and fear in social settings and in relationships, leading them to avoid activities or jobs that involve being with others. I have 2 jobs. One of them is I do cleaning. I do an office cleaning, and I basically just do it. I don't have any coworkers. I go do it by myself, and that's it. I haven't expanded. I haven't hired anyone new in a long time, for more reasons than just the social anxiety, but I also just, I'm like, well, I can just work by myself. It's fine, you know. I can find clients and I can go do the cleaning, and I don't even have to talk to anybody, and it's great. And then my other job is I'm a gardener, and I work with one person at that job, and right now she's in the hospital, and she probably will be for a couple of months, because she's like 80 years old. Broke her femur, and now she has pneumonia, and so I just work by myself. I go over there, I do my gardening for like 3 hours, and then I leave, and it's just me by myself. but I get so much anxiety being around people. For instance, it was my birthday on the 4th, and on Saturday I went out with some people that my boyfriend kind of hit up and got to come to my birthday dinner with me and everything, and I was shaking so uncontrollably. Like, people were like, "Are you okay? Is there something wrong with you?" Because I was sitting there just like a leaf, you know. I was just shaking like a leaf, and like to the point where I had to take a drink of this wine. Like, they passed out this wine for everyone to try, and I remember I tried to, like, I thought it might be too weak. Like, I thought there was something really wrong with me. I thought that I was just too weak to hold the glass, because I tried to drink it, and I was like a fucking crazy person. Like, I couldn't even get it to my mouth without stopping, without shaking uncontrollably. That's how anxious and how crazy I was. And it wasn't even like random new people. It was like family. And I don't know why. I was a total weirdo. And like, one of the people at this dinner I'm supposed to like hang out with on Sunday, and she like didn't even hit me up, and now it's been like 3 days, and I'm sitting here like, was I that weird that like she doesn't even want to talk to me anymore? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so that's something I've been struggling with for a really long time. It's really hard to like go out and hang out with people if you're so obviously weirded out by them. You know, if you're shaking uncontrollably from having a normal conversation with a person, nobody wants to hang out with you. And I don't blame them, you know, like, why would you want to hang out with someone that weird? So there's that. Anyway, 4, you tend to be shy, awkward, or self-conscious in social situations due to fear of doing something wrong or being embarrassed. Yeah. I've been so shy. Like, people describe me as shy. I've had several people tell me, like, I've worked jobs where it's like me and a bunch of other people. Like, I was a hostess, server, worked in retail for like 10 years, and just about every job I got, I would hear reports like eventually I would kind of get used to the people I was working with, and I would kind of open up to them. It's actually like the only way I've ever been able to actually make friends. But just about every job that I've worked, you know, I'll be there for a while, and they'll be like, you know, when we first hired you, we were like, why did you hire this girl? She's so shy and awkward, and we didn't know how to read you, and you know, you weren't very good with customers and all this kind of stuff. And it's because I was just so shy, you know. Like, you'd have this customer walk into your store and just be like, hey, how are you doing? And in my mind, I'm like, fuck, this person's probably like already hates me. They already think I'm weird. They already don't want to talk to me. Like, why would you want to talk to me? I'm just some shop girl, you know. And it was just, it's like being put into the most anxiety-inducing situation like 100 times in a day, because every customer is like a new challenge. It's a new problem, and I never got past it. I tried really hard, and I just never. The only time I ever did get past it was I worked at a liquor store in Alaska, and a lot of our customer base were military people, because our liquor store was right across, so it was in Alaska, and there's Elmendorf and Fort Rich, and I worked in Mountain View, I worked across the bridge from Mountain View in I can't remember the like sub city, but it was like, so like, here's Mountain View and Fort Rich, and then Fort Rich, Elmendorf, and then Mountain View, and then across the bridge is like Anchorage proper, and that's where I worked. And so it was kind of like the closest liquor store for a lot of these people, or like if they were driving into town, it was like the first liquor store on their way home. So it was kind of like a lot of minority customer base, a lot of military customer base, and like mostly guys. I find it way easier to talk to men than I do to women. And I don't know if that's just because I view women as being like way more judgy, or if they actually are just more judgy. And I think that's probably the truth. I think women just judge you more harshly, and probably for good reason. You know, as a woman, you want to judge people because you want to make sure that you're in a safe place, because you know, if you're if you judge a man incorrectly, he could beat the shit out of you. So, I don't know. Anyway, so very true. I'm very shy, awkward, self-conscious in social situations, and I always have a fear of doing something wrong or be embarrassed. Because I basically think that like I try not to like consciously think this, but I think it's more of like a subconscious thing, where I'm like, you know, if I do anything wrong, this person's gonna think about it for the rest of their life. Whenever they think about me, they're gonna be like, remember Rose? Oh yeah, remember that weird thing she did that one time? That's like all they're gonna associate me with. So yeah, that's very true with me. Number 5 is they tend to exaggerate potential problems. I don't know if this is connected or not, but I have a major fear of being in small vehicles. I think this stems from being in several car crashes, but I have a really hard time riding in like the passenger side of any small vehicle because I'm constantly afraid I'm about to die, and like I'll try not to look at the street at all. I'll try to like kind of keep my head down and just kind of like focus on something else. But I swear to God, every time I look up, all I see is like us crashing into the person in front of us, or someone crashing it, like T-boning me or something like that. I've been T-boned. I've rear-ended someone. I've been rear-ended like 3 times. I've been in several car accidents, and it's fucking terrifying. And so in my head, I'm like catastrophizing all the time, and I feel like that's not necessarily unreasonable. I feel like if you've been in like 6-7 car crashes, like it's not an unreasonable fear, but I think my reaction to it is unreasonable. Like I just can't, and I don't know if this is connected or at all, but there's that. And then I went to Six Flags a couple years ago, and for like 6 months after coming back, every time we went over a hill or something like that, I was like freaking the fuck out. Like I don't know why. It was like I got that feeling of being, because we went to Six Flags down in Burbank. I'm not sure, it's down in California. And we went on like all the extreme rides, and I'd only ever been on one roller coaster before in my entire life, and it was at like the state fair here in Washington. So, and I'm not a thrill seeker. I don't want to go like parachuting. I don't want to, nothing. I don't want to do any of that. The only one that I wasn't massively terrified of was the pendulum. They have this one that's it's like a circle, and then on the outside of the circle you're sitting facing out, and then like the circle spins, and it's also a pendulum, so it's going back and forth, and it goes like, when it's dropping, it goes like 70 miles an hour. It's the fastest pendulum ride I think in the world. That one I wasn't afraid of, because I was like, science. Like, you're not gonna die on this one. The pendulum swings. That's how pendulums work. And so that one I was not afraid of, but every single other one I was massively terrified. Like on one of them, I was holding onto this thing so tight, and I was closing my eyes. Like I wouldn't open my eyes for almost any of the rides. So I didn't see anything. I went on like 10 different rides. I didn't see shit. And so like this one, I was holding on so tight, I actually gave myself like a massive cramp in my leg, because like I just like some scared little baby. I just couldn't fucking enjoy myself. I couldn't do it. It was terrifying, and it like gave me some sort of weird PTSD for like 6 months after it. Like I'm still like, I definitely don't ever want to get on another one of those rides. They're absolutely terrifying. But my boyfriend and his brother and his brother's girlfriend all like really love it, and if they want to go back, they can go back, but I'm not doing that shit. It was terrifying. So I don't know if that's necessarily the same problem, but apparently you only need like 4 of these symptoms in order for you to be diagnosed with this problem. But yeah, tend to exaggerate potential problems. I do a lot. Like, I'm like really afraid one of my kids is gonna like die at some point, you know, early, and which is a potential thing that could happen, but in my mind it's like constantly present. like, one of my fears of being in a vehicle is that, like, there'll be all four of us in this vehicle and someone will crash into us and one of my family members will die and I will survive. And that's not something you should be thinking about all the time, but it is. Every time I get into a vehicle, I'm afraid someone's going to kill me or one of my children. And it's terrifying. Or my man. 6, seldom try anything new or take chances. So that whole roller coaster thing, that was probably the last and only time I tried something like really new and out of my comfort zone, and it was not a good experience. Like, I'm glad I did it, but I'm not sure. There was only like 2 rides that I actually really enjoyed. The rest of them I was just terrified the entire time. I have been trying more recently to force myself to try new things. But I don't like go out and try new things. I do things like try to teach myself the violin all by myself in my house with no one around. I don't go to a class. I should go learn how to, I go to the gym, right? But I go by myself. I don't go where other people are in the gym. Like, if there's more than like 2 people in a room, I won't go in it. I just don't do anything where other people are involved, and I don't like to try anything scary because I'm just afraid that I'm gonna die, basically. Yeah. Anyway, and number 7, you have a poor self-image, seeing yourself as inadequate or inferior. I'm getting over this, but for a really long time, this has been a problem for me. Like, I really thought that I was just fat and stupid and inadequate and had basically no value, and I didn't value myself really at all, and I think because of that I've wasted like 20 years of my life just being lame. So like, I've been so self-kind. I feel like I'm kind of getting over that, and I think that a lot of the reason I'm getting over that is because of my boyfriend. He's very much attracted to me, and he's really, really social, and he's like the exact opposite of me, and like, in every way. Like, I'm really not a talkative person when there are other people around, and basically that's because I'm like, well, if I talk too much, they're gonna be like, would you shut up and stop talking about yourself? Like, no one wants to hear this. And then they just will hate me and never want to hang out with me again. And so I've been being with my boyfriend and being around his friends and seeing how they react to me has given me a bit of a better self-image. So I've kind of been somewhat curing myself of that, thought process, and that's been good. I feel better about that. Feel better about myself. I've been trying to turn myself into more like a classy, high value lady, and I can't say I've accomplished it yet, but excuse me. But I do, and also I'm wearing like a Morbid Angel t-shirt right now, but usually I try to dress nice. I start getting my nails and my eyebrows done, and I go, try to do some self-care, some self-love, and be like, well, I deserve it. And I've kind of stumbled upon friendships where people will encourage me in that way and will give me a good example of how they practice self-love and self-awareness, and it's really, when I say I stumbled upon it, I really stumbled upon it. Like, it wasn't something that I sought out. It was just something that kind of like happened to stumble into my life. Like, my roommate, I always tell her, like, I'm really self-conscious and I have all these problems, and she says that she wakes up and looks in the mirror, and she's a bit she weighs a bit more than she wants to and whatnot, but she says that she wakes up and looks in the mirror and she looks at whatever part of her body she's feeling self-conscious about and tries to actively force love into that area. So, for instance, if she's looking at her belly and she doesn't like it, she tries to tell herself, I love you. I love this part of me. I'm so thankful that I have you. And, you know, I think that can be, while great for your mental health, probably not that great for your overall health, because I think that, you know, if you have this giant gut, you probably should also be somewhat critical of that. And so maybe do something about it rather than just being in love with it. But if you're happy with yourself, and then yeah, go ahead, love it, be aware of it, and be happy with it if that's what you want to do. So I look at her and I look at her confidence issues and what she's done about it, and it's been helpful to me. So yeah, so hopefully I'm on like a track where I can, I don't know, move forward from being this self-conscious weirdo to enjoying being around other people. I would really like to enjoy talking to people, like, and without leaving the conversation wondering a million things like, did I say something super crazy and now they're gonna hate me forever? Like, I just don't want to have that thought anymore. I don't know if like other people feel that way who don't have these problems, but it's overwhelming. It's really overwhelming when you're constantly worrying about what everyone thinks about every little thing that you did. And most likely, like logically, if I look at it, nobody cares. Probably nobody's sitting around thinking about me, you know? Which is probably sad also, I don't know, but I need to make myself aware that, like, it's probably not that important to most people what I'm worrying about. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, social avoidant personality disorder. It's just something that I've been dealing with for a really long time, and it's made me very lonely and sad. And I told myself that for a really long time it was just because I didn't like people, but that's not really true. I do like people, I just find it impossible to connect with them, like anyone. And that's really sad, given all the people that I know, all the places I've been, all the experiences that I've had. There should be someone, you know? There should be someone I can call up and talk to for hours, but I find myself completely incapable. And it's really sad. All the people that I'm actually somewhat friends with, like every one of them is super outgoing. So like I would never become friends with anyone that like I pursued. It's always been someone just kind of fell into my lap and never stopped talking, and so we just kind of by default became friends. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, and if you struggle with the same problem, I just want you to know that you're not alone. There's more weirdos out there, and I would love to talk to you, and you're worth having a conversation with, and you're worth having someone listen to you.